Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry that I cannot be with you in person, but I'm really happy to join you virtually. And yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Bettina Heller, and I'm a program officer at the United Nations Environment Program, coordinating our work on textiles. And I've already had the pleasure to talk to a few of those who are in the room today, I think. And thanks so much for inviting us to join this event tonight. It's a very important topic to us that you are discussing today. In our view, the textile industry can play a significant role in addressing the triple planetary crisis that we are facing at the moment, which concerns climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. It's probably not new to you, but just to give some numbers, the textile industry is a major contributor to these crises, for instance, emitting annually 2 to 8% of global GHG emissions, also using a substantial amount of natural water resources, which equivalizes 86 million Olympic-sized swimming pools, and also responsible for 9% of microplastic pollution to our oceans. Our vision at UNEP is to accelerate a transition towards a more sustainable and circular textile value chain. And because of this, we've held extensive consultations over the last couple of years with governments, with industry, fashion initiatives, and many others to identify the priorities and the building blocks that we would need to move towards such a system. The three priorities that we have identified for the sector are shifting consumption patterns, which also includes all the work around circular business models, improving practices, so that concerns both practices at production sites as well as practices when it comes to the use phase. And the final one, driving infrastructure investment. So anything to do with renewable energy access, reducing waste from the textile, and also looking at water impacts. These priorities are outlined in an upcoming report, which is our roadmap report that will be launched in around a month from now at the World Circular Economy Forum in Helsinki. So it's very timely also that we're speaking today. And one thing I wanted to emphasize, because it fits very well to what you're discussing today, is that one common element in all of our consultations throughout was, in order to accelerate change in the sector, what is really needed is policy. So I want to emphasize that our view is not that policy is the only thing that's needed, and to achieve that transition, we need all the actors on board. We need everybody to play their part. Be it the industry, be it governments, civil society, financial institutions, but also communicators and consumers, of course. But government and policy and regulations have a certain unlocking effect. We've identified that policymakers are the pivotal stakeholders in the textile value chain that can unlock a lot of the other things that need to happen. And have a critical role in creating the right conditions for the just transition towards a more circular system. Now, we know that this isn't easy, but what we've identified as the most critical element when it comes to policies is really coordination. So that concerns both coordination at the national level as well as at the international level. So at the international level, of course, we know this is a very complex and long value chain, very international. And we do know that policies that one country will enact will ultimately also have an effect on other countries. So one of the gaps that we've identified is to have more of this international policy coordination and dialogue. But what is also really needed is better coordination at national level, and that concerns interministerial collaboration, and also making sure that there is coordination at the different national levels. So when it comes to local initiatives, sort of sub-national priorities aligned then to national priorities. And what we found is that a focal point is very helpful for such coordination. Now, such a focal point will take a different, will be different in different countries, of course. There are many forms that this could take. I would like to just share an experience from another country that we are working with closely on textiles, which is in India. And in India, textile sector is, of course, a major contributor to the national economy, and they have chosen to create a Minister of Textiles already in 1947. In India, the Ministry of Textiles is responsible for the formulation of policies, planning, development, export promotion, and regulation of textiles. And the ministry's remit is based on Prime Minister Modi's textile-specific policy called 5F. So that's farm to fiber to factory to fashion to foreign. So it spans the entire production export sector for textiles. So really looking at all these parts of the value chain until when it then comes to the use in the other countries. Just to mention a few of the projects that the Ministry of Textile has been running. For instance, they have issued a technology upgrade fund scheme, which was funding the modernization of the textile machinery and equipment. They're also running a skill development scheme. And also there is a plan to create new textile parks that would streamline the value chain into one ecosystem, so bringing all the different steps from the fiber to fabric to garments together. And there's also textile focus in a campaign that the government is currently running, which is the LIFE campaign, Lifestyle for Environment. And our UNEP India office, we have been working very closely with the ministry on sustainability, assessing the environmental hotspots of textile clusters and providing recommendations as a sort of roadmap of what would be needed. And again, here, there was a lot of interaction with the ministry because a lot of the recommendations that were identified are again looking to government and to policy making to give some of the stimulating enabling conditions. So this is but one example, and as I said, for every country it will look very different, and I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just want to finish by saying that we think in general such coordination is really one of the key things that's needed. We're really happy about the engagement with Scotland, also having talked already to the Scottish Parliament last year, and we're very happy to continue also the collaboration with Fashion Revolution Scotland going forward, and showcasing also the work in Scotland and hoping that this will become one of the front runners on sustainability that's very much needed in that space. So thanks again so much for having me. Happy to provide inputs also after the event, of course, and I wish you very fruitful discussions tonight. Thanks so much.